is What's Your Story? And I'm excited that we're joined tonight by so many powerhouse storytellers from around the world, from Canada to Hamburg and to Lagos, where everything is happening. My name is Kende, and I am excited to be hosting this event. So wherever you are, get ready to jam with us. I'm going to bring on the storytellers without wasting your time. So all of them are going to be joining us right now on stage. And I hope that you can really, really have a good time with all of us tonight. All right, let's just do a quick round check of our microphones to make sure that we're doing well. Just say hello if you're here. Yes, please say hello. I'm going to start with Tohid. Tell us your name and give it a go. Yes.
Yeah, cool. My name is Tohib Dele Balogun. I'm a partner at The Hook. I think that's that for now. Yeah.
Lampuyo Moyele is next. I can see from here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Lampuyo Moyele. I wear a number of hats, but this evening, the provost at Orange Academy.
That's awesome. Right. Who's next there?
I think I'm next.
Yes, please.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Esosa Osagede. I'm the creative director at Insight Publicists.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I'm sure it's Teva listeners.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Teva Bendaga. I am a senior manager for product marketing at a company called Tipati in the UK.
That's exciting. Enola, did we hear from you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Eniola Falashe. I'm a singer and I'm a copywriter. And I'm really bad with tech stuff. That's why I muted myself and then unmuted myself again. But I'm
That's exciting,
guys.
Yes, happy to see you all. It's good to see everyone on the screen, like, very little image of everybody, but I just send you a big hug from here. Thank you for joining me. You all look great. You look great. Esosa, as always, it's good to see you. And Tohib, it's good to have you here. Teva, we're honored to have you. And I will not waste your time. Lampe is our provost at Orange Academy. For those of you joining us online, this is also a launch of Orange Academy website, orangeacademy.net. Please check us out as we go through this event. Why don't we start with all, jamming to some of the best stories we have had out there. So I'm going to just lead us into kind of a session right now with Eniola.
Thank you very much. As you know, my name is Eniola.
Will you wine your body?
I don't have.
Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it. Will you wine your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it. She won't follow me go out today, oh. She won't follow me go out today, oh. Malo su malo yegbe, to balo su ma yegbe. Malo su malo yegbe, to balo su ma yegbe. Malo su malo yegbe, to balo su ma yegbe. She won't follow me go out today, oh. Will you wine your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it, wine your body. Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it. So mommy, jo fun mi, bo gbadun bo se rere. Bossita, bossago, jẹ́ ká jọ máa ṣalẹ̀. So mommy, jo fun mi, bo gbadun bo se rere. Bossita, bossago, jẹ́ ká jọ máa ṣalẹ̀. She won't follow me go out today, oh. She won't follow me go out
we're going to stop there for now. This is great. This is a jam, like I said. It's not another storytelling classroom. I don't want us to come with some framework, some PowerPoint. It's just for us to jam in tonight. Why don't we get started with the music that we just had? What is the state of storytelling today? And what are we grateful for, as storytellers? What are we excited about and what are we grateful for? Because so many people are watching and they want to know what they should be happy about. Because there's so much despair. People are tired and people are complaining. But I think there's some bright side somewhere that we can be all happy about. Good music, by the way, Eniola. What are we excited about? What are we grateful for? Wherever we are around the world. Anybody can go on. This is a jam, so I'm not going to call a name. So you can start and then you can call somebody else to go on, and then we just go on that way. Let's go.
Cool. I think I'll go first. I'm pretty grateful that despite all the AI and noise, like real stories are still cutting through. I'm also grateful that on LinkedIn, there's an increased culture of calling out bullshit, which is really great. Love it.
Like that. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Despite AI, we still are here. Storytellers are still here. Yeah. Anyone want to go on that?
Yeah, I'll go after her. I think for me, what excites me still as a storyteller is seeing that authenticity hasn't been drowned out. We still see stories that connect real deep cultural insights. I mean, Nigerian, you see a story from India. I mean, I've sat in rooms where I'm defending work from other countries like Jordan, like India, like Pakistan, countries that have similar cultures to, say, Northern Nigeria and the likes, and you can still see the authenticity and the rawness in the story, and it hasn't been diluted by everything that is happening. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was looking at the Vaseline campaign today from South Africa that was using the story of the people, how the grandmothers take care of babies with Vaseline, and I was just like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Still looking into culture and tapping into these are things that AI cannot replace. So yeah, cheer that up. Yeah, it looks like Tohid wanted to speak.
Yeah, I think I'll just go right after. Yeah, so I think I'm extremely grateful for the tools that we have. I mean, when these tools were first introduced, they were supposed to take out the storytellers, but they have become our collaborators, and I think that's fantastic. What that means is that we can go from idea to execution, and you are a lot more in control. And I think that's fantastic. That's unprecedented. We're grateful for that.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm grateful for.
Just introduce yourself because we meet you at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. So my name is Collins Oko. I am a film writer, mostly Lagos based. Yeah. So what I'm grateful for is that stories will never go out of vogue. I mean, when I think about the fact that stories can't go out of fashion, I'm grateful for that. They may change, but there is never going to be a point where people won't want stories. Could be novels, could be movies, could be documentaries, but stories will always be told no matter what. So I am just grateful for that fact and that knowledge.
Awesome. So that's the job for us, basically. Thank you.
Okay. So maybe I'll say one thing I'm grateful for, and I think it might be cliche about it, is that I'm alive and I'm seeing many things happening across the world, lots of stories to be told. And because of the lots of stories that can be told, there's a lot more for us as storytellers to get inspiration from.
That's great. I want to piggyback on that, Provost. How have you been able to keep your storytelling hat on? Over the years, how did you get into this pathway? And everybody else can come on. How did you join? How did you get into this storytelling pathway? I mean, for some of us, it's called marketing. For For some of us, it's called branding. For some of us, it's called film writing. For some of us, it's called songwriting. It's still storytelling. How have you found your path? Because I know you were from science background. I'm talking to Lampe Moyele now. How did you find yourself in this, in the space where you are? Yeah.
Okay. Further question. Just some days ago, I shared with my family WhatsApp group. I stumbled on an old school magazine that someone else, one of my classmates, had put into a WhatsApp group. The old school magazine. This was around 78, 79 magazine. And I looked through it and I saw clips of a report that showed some of the things that I used to do then, which was interesting. Apparently, I couldn't remember. I was involved in drama. I was involved in writing scripts, involved in acting, involved in debating. And when I put that into the family group, my daughters said, "Oh, wow, you've always been a creative." Right? And I then said, "Oh, yeah, but nevertheless, I went to the sciences, went to medical school." All right. So I think that it had been innate. It was a gift, talent that was there, but then I pivoted for various reasons. I always say that the village guided me somehow, and I found myself in the sciences. But then, as it is, I found my way out fortuitously back into the core in terms of storytelling. I think it was for teachers. Went into some interviews as a management trainee, and the HR head said to me, "Look, we've seen you through interview stages. We think you do well in marketing." And that for me was a break, a real break. And I started my career in marketing. The irony is that before then, I'd been looking for opportunities to work as a copywriter. This was about 1989. But none of the agencies at the time believed in a science student in marketing, and they didn't recruit me. So I say full circle, 30 years on, rather than start from the bottom of copywriting, I started from the top.
That's fascinating. Does anyone have any similar experience or story to share with us? How they got here? How has your path? How has it been getting here today?
Yeah, I think similar to Langpe, I feel like I've always loved stories. I used to love debating as well. Like as a kid, I was an Enid Blyton kid. Always loved everything from Bottle Leopard to everything Chino Achebe ever wrote to like Buchia Machata's Joys of Motherhood, ushering into the Adichie era with everything she's ever written. And then I became a journalist. So the first career I actually ever pursued was journalism. So I was actually a crime reporter at Punch. And then from there, I realized that, like advertising, like really cool, right? It's like I did a little internship stint at 141, which I think Sosa and Langbe are also familiar with. And yeah, like storytelling has always just been something that I was really excited about. And working in strategy has also been great. And then transitioning into like a more SaaS, like fintech, on-demand gig economy role. So it's all been great. But I think the fundamental thing is just the love for stories and the love for like connecting with people through stories.
Yeah.
I'll jump right in. I think for me, it's unfortunately I don't have um any what's the word now? Any zigzag stories like Ogalampe has or Tebe has. I think I've always just found myself here because when I think back now on be as a child and how I just used to love to write and write and write and write, but I would have back then we used to call them diaries, and I mean these days people call it journaling and all of that funky stuff, but back then it was keeping a diary and actually writing stuff and scribbling, and I would write when I grew up if I had this business.
Nigeria happened to us there.
No, I'm also Nigerian. Nigeria is happening to me.
Nigeria.
I mean, Nigeria is not open to
Nigeria as well.
Is that happening?
For those of you watching from wherever you're watching from, you can go on YouTube to make a comment or to ask question from these powerhouses. People are asking me where can they make comments. Go on YouTube. You can make comments. If we like your comment, then we put your comment up. If we don't like it, we say no, we don't want it. So it's not democratic at all. No, it's not. So please go ahead, Tohib. You were
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the storyteller has to tell a story. If you don't tell that story, it's going to manifest your refusal to tell that story in so many ways. And I think this common in all of us, where at some point in our life we had perhaps be dragged into occupations or to do stuff that we didn't really want to like. So, for example, I know, like shared story about him being, a doctor, medical doctor, and he had to tell a story. My background myself, I mean, I had to tell that story. I remember the first time someone actually, I used to write SMS then, just so I had friends. They want to ask, speak to a girl and stuff, and I'll just script this SMS and just send it to them like, guy, Badu. So I became like the voice to actually reach out to people. And I then discovered that there's a platform for one to actually write stuff like this and actually persuade people, which copywriting was for me. So I think for a storyteller, you just have to tell your story. And that can manifest in several ways, in text, in words, in music, like my friend here and ex-classmate Eniola, so I think that's that. Yeah.
Wait, you and Eniola knew yourself from before now?
We are going to jam after this again.
I need to hear that jam right now.
I'll just jump in here real quickly. When Toy was talking about telling stories and having that need to, it's more like a compulsion. We must tell those stories, and now it's now about understanding what stories do we tell ourselves and what story do we tell others, and being able to find the confluence between the streams of the stories that we tell actually leads us to a place of authenticity. And that's what I think generative AI cannot do, because for you to be able to tell a story, you must first live. And all these stories we tell comes from like lived in experiences. And, Gen AI can be predictive, but can never be preemptive. And that's what I actually believe, that we still have a chance when it comes to this new world of technology and how we tell stories.
Just to go off.
Go ahead.
No, just go off that. I mean, when the ChatGPT thing happened, there was a lot of unexpressed fear that this guy is going to come in, is going to replace the writers and all of that. A year down the line, you can spot ChatGPT from afar. You know its style, you know its short words, you know how it uses phrase, you know its punctuation. You actually know ChatGPT style. So I think generative AI is going to be here. Storytellers will be here.
How do you know ChatGPT style? How do you know?
The first is the dash, the use of dash. You just see the dash all over the place.
I have been using dash before ChatGPT.
But trust me, this guy uses it
Because you think it's at all. It's not.
So you see a lot of dash. I mean, some of the others have see dash. You see a whole lot of quick use of punctuation marks, right? And there is also, I mean, when some of my guys that work with me want to be really smart, trying to use ChatGPT, you see this huge use of words that's actually not saying anything. Just sort of like, this thing is beautiful. You can see the beautiful, almost like a words coming together, but they are really not doing. There's no humanity in it. It's so perfect. Yeah. You can tell that this is not done. These are some of the ways I've been able to tell. Yeah.
No, that's right. Can you guys hear me? Because I think my
we can hear you now.
It's draggy a bit.
Okay, awesome. Okay, it's dragging.
Yeah.
It's okay now. It's fine.
Am I clear?
You're good.
Okay, maybe it's okay. I think for a very long time, and that's why I started this copywriting thing. I would say Kenny would know this, maybe 20 plus years ago from Orange and all of that. And there was authenticity. I keep using the word authenticity because there was realness in writing. You see, to be a writer, you need to know how to write. And when I say know how to write, know how to use your punctuations, your tenses, not just know how to write properly. So I think a lot of people came into this industry not knowing how to write. And I think with the likes of Twitter allowing you write a caption and feeling like a writer, a lot of people think that 120 words without commas and full stops is the way to write. So when ChatGPT came and kind of helped normalize or bring back proper writing, it then feels like people just started writing properly. Because when I see, I hear you on the dashes and all of those things, but I keep saying to people, I've been using dashes for the longest, and using my punctuation marks properly, because I mean I had a very literature and English teacher in Obafemi Awolowo University who would make sure you wrote properly. So I think and this is what I tell my guys, ChatGPT is to help you, not make your writing better, but just, I would say, structure things properly, because that's how I use it. I write as a human being first, and that's what all of us should be able to do. Write as human beings first. You should be able to write properly first, and then see how you then bring in ChatGPT to maybe help you structure things properly, if that makes any sense. But I hear you also how people use it. I mean, the other day I was doing like a boot camp in the office. It was a quick thing, and I was like, look, everybody's going to write a radio, and be you a designer, an art director, a copywriter, a strategist. I want everybody to write radios. And this junior art director wrote a radio, and where in ChatGPT it says insert this here, insert that here. The boy didn't even he didn't even know edit that part. So when he was presenting his radio, he was presenting and saying, open on, now insert this comma here, insert this music here. And I was like, oh shit, that is not how to use this thing. So, we just need to train our people more in, how to use technology better. Yeah.
I think building on that, if I may, I think it's also about, that ChatGPT or AI is not meant to replace human thinking. And I think that's the real risk that we run. It can help with efficiencies. It can help make things better. But there must be the discipline that you are human, and what you're trying to do with your storytelling is to connect with human as well. So, so AI can help to refine. It can help trigger some thoughts. But what we need to be careful, ourselves as storytellers, and also with those that we work with and relate with, is that it doesn't replace human thinking. It doesn't replace the cultural nuances that AI cannot help with.
Collins, what does this look like in the film industry, for instance? I mean, most of us are here in branding and tech. Because I'm imagining ChatGPT writing, everybody loves Jennifer, and how would that look like?
Well, in the film industry, it's a pandemic, right? So someone sends you a script to read, and then you going through it, and obviously ChatGPT, it's like a pandemic. It's everywhere. Everyone is writing with it now. It's crazy. It's wild, right? And I personally, I don't even think ChatGPT should be used to reconstruct sentences as a writer. I think if you're a writer, there is a particular flavor. There is a way you sound as a writer unique to you. So if you have to use ChatGPT to restructure sentences, you will start not sounding like yourself. And that is already a problem. So I think ChatGPT should almost be used like Google. It's just what I think. I think you can use it to solve for information, to do a couple of other things, but not even restructure sentences. Your words should sound like you.
Yeah.
Personally, that's just what I think.
I think the risk here is allowing ChatGPT to be your style, right? I mean, I'm familiar with the writings of Kenneth Badmus. I sort of, if I see his writing, I can almost guess that this is him writing. Where the real danger is here is, like Esosa was mentioning, telling ChatGPT, write a radio around this, it's going to write it in its own style. And I think that's where the challenge is. But writing your own style and telling ChatGPT, can you just point out the punctuation marks, errors, and some of those things? That's really, really safe. It's still going to keep your style intact. Where the challenge is outsourcing, just like we said, is outsourcing your thinking to it. Once you do that, it's going to determine a style for you, and billions of people share that style, and that's where the real danger is from a perspective. Yeah.
There is a question from one of the viewers saying that this is Emmanuel Obayomi. What can someone who inspires to be a storyteller but venture into it in the era of AI, and it feels like an easy way out, but doesn't have a strong writing skill? Where should the person start from?
I personally think that when it comes to developing, when it comes to developing
Go ahead,
a writing,
Tebe.
my thinking is the more you read, the better you write. So I always say that if I'm reading, I'm writing, right? So if you read more things that you connect with, I think it will help you develop a unique flavor to how you want to tell stories. And then I think that's a good base to start from. And, I really like I don't know whether it was Abayomi or I can't remember who said it, but someone was talking about feeding ChatGPT your style and then letting it run with it. I think you can't outsource your thinking and your style and your flavor to ChatGPT. What you can do is say, like, this is my style, finesse it, like that's fine. But I think I would say start from picking a bunch of writers that you think are exciting, read from them, and then develop a writing style off the back of that.
But I mean, we all are sounding as if storytelling is all about writing. Are we all writers? I mean, is storytelling really all about writing?
I mean, he specifically was talking about writing skill.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're into that.
This is a me too. I'm asking, I mean, is storytelling really just about writing, or is there more to storytelling than writing?
Yeah. I mean, storytelling is everything. In fact, I have a theory that the only thing you can't do is not tell a story. That's the only thing you can do. You have to. You can't even determine. You can't even desire not. You can't make it happen that you won't tell a story. The way you dress, the way you talk, how you pronounce your words, everything's going to tell a story about you. So we are all storytellers, right? I mean, here we have visual artists, we have writers, we have musicians, we have all sorts of people telling stories, differently. So storytelling is actually something that you can't do. We all have to tell our story. I think our ability to tell it in a sticky way, and that's where we have differences. That's where the experts come in. So, for example, I mean, I can literally tell a story like Chinua Achebe, but I cannot tell it. I mean, that's some work that that's some huge work, right? For you to be able to tell it the way he did tell it in Things Fall Apart is what sort of differentiating from other people. Yeah.
Okay. On that note, I want to quickly play a form of storytelling right here in the house, and we see.
Tired of this generational curse.
Anoint my children with the blood of Jesus.
We're not cursed. Then what are we? We are special family. Are you not ashamed of yourself? You have 5 sons from 5 different men.
Yes, and I'm proud of my boys. They are Jedida's 5 boys. Judas.
You stop from me and you go collect too.
You want to attack me?
No, sir.
Are you a he-good? Tough boy like you, don't know that you use Lolon.
Is this mop you're carrying on your head that is blocking your ear? You're calling into my head.
Take it easy now. It's for you. We need to go and look for this money anyhow. We should go and rob C&K furniture store. That's the only way we can get quick money.
So what I'm saying here is that is there a style to? I mean, somebody said that we all have different style. I mean, people say Nollywood has a style. Like we just saw this, right? And some people will say, "Oh, that's Nollywood." We can already see Nollywood. I don't agree. I believe because I was watching, what's his name, Tyler Perry 2 days ago, and I was like, oh my God, this is Tyler Perry. So is that a way that we as storytellers can create our own unique voice without being cliche? I don't know if you understand what I mean. people can already say, oh, that's Nollywood. Oh, that's Nigerian. Oh, is there nothing wrong with that? Maybe it's something to embrace. Collins, you may want to jump in because that was your work. I mean, maybe you have something to say. Anybody is also welcome.
Yeah, I do have a lot to say about that, but I will try to keep it as brief as possible. So the thing is this: when you tell a story, your story is mostly, especially in Nollywood, of course, or especially in the film industry, your story is mostly shaped by the environment you live in, right? So when you want to tell a story, you are pushed to tell a story that those within your environment, those in your country, they can relate to. You understand? And there sometimes people try to push beyond the national boundaries. People try to tell stories that are not exactly relatable in Nigeria, but such stories flop in the box office. Such stories, they do not do well commercially because they are not exactly stories Nigerians can relate to. So because of that, you find Nigerian filmmakers gearing towards making films that are just about Nigeria, even if they are cliche, even if they are outdated comedies, even if they are slapsticks, even if they are not necessarily good films, but then they are now after making money, recouping the fund they invested in these films. So I think that is why a lot of Nollywood films, you can look at them and you can tell, yes, that's Nollywood. The fact that people are trying to recoup the money they invested in these films, which is a sad thing anyway.
But wait, there's nothing wrong with being a Nollywood story. I mean, to be honest, I think it depends on the lens which you're looking at it from. Are we looking at it from the white person's perspective, or a Hollywood perspective, or Bollywood? I think Nollywood has created a voice for themselves, and I don't know. Do we want to be judged? But because I look at Cannes, for those of us in branding, for instance, I look at Cannes, I look at most of the awards, and I begin to see, all of them looking alike. Like because everything has to have a certain way, a certain art direction to it before you can win a Cannes. And this is
just to add to that, I feel like I have a challenge here because I worry about the metric of box office success as the metric for what a good movie is. If you take Fight Club, for example, it flopped in the box office, but it's a cult classic, right? So, like, why is that the metric for what a successful or what a good movie is? The fact that I can mention 1,000 Nollywood movies that have performed great commercially, but are absolutely horrible to watch, right?
And just to add to that, I think where the strong point of every storyteller comes in, especially if you're in a commercial or mainstream space, is being able to balance creativity with profitability. So what do I mean by this? Like, we have great storytellers, like, for instance, Quentin Tarantino is actually one of my favorite directors and writers. What he does is that he casts people that he knows. He's leveraging his his personal relationships, so he gets them for cheap. And he's the kind of guy who will shoot a movie for like 7 million and make a 250 million back on it. And what he does and what he's good at is cutting down costs, because when you cut down the costs, you can tell the story. You can go crazy and wild with your story, and you can be sure that you're going to be profitable because you're already starting from a very low expectancy benchmark. So you can just only keep pushing it and dialing it all up. So that is like approach that he uses, and I find that very, very interesting, And what I believe is that if you have a big budget, it's easy to do shitty stuff. But if you have a small budget, it pushes your creativity. So I always see that as a very, very good place to start. And I think constraint is actually what makes your creativity shine.
Okay, yeah. So I am Teva asked a question, so I think I want to say something about the question she asked. Yeah, so she asked what makes the metric for a successful movie, right? So first of all, for a movie to be successful, there has to be output. There has to be something people can see, right? So from my point of view, there are two ways you can determine a successful movie. It's either the movie did very well in the box office, yielded a lot of money, recouped a lot of money, or the movie won awards, right? So if a movie did not do very well commercially and it did not win awards as well, no matter how much people love it, you could call it a good movie, but you can't call it a successful movie.
Interesting.
And if
Yeah,
I may
well,
weigh in there, doesn't that also
okay.
therefore pose a bit of a challenge for storytellers, whether it's in the movie or whether it's commercials, and that you're just doing because you want to win awards? In terms of what's the overriding role and purpose of storytellers and also storytelling, right? There's the commercial part. There's also what you might call the purpose-driven one. You're trying to influence society in one way or the other. You're trying to influence behavior. And I think that that's probably one of the challenges in today's world, where the economics of storytelling seems to override what you might say is some of the other areas around behavioral change, role of storytellers and storytelling. I think that's one of the challenges that I think storytelling today faces.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
cultural impact.
Yeah, exactly cultural impact. And I think it really must come to a point where storytellers need to be able to define what's their objective, and while the economics is important, but is there also a critical role in terms of impact on society? So
yeah. I think that's something that must be clearly spelled out, for us to be able to judge what a great movie is. And I think it was Teva that mentioned that. Okay, I think it was Kenny. Yeah, is it from the white man's gaze that we're looking at these movies from? And that's something that I had to come to terms with, to say, if I show some of my uncles, Breaking Bad, for example, will they appreciate it the way they will appreciate Omogeto? Right? They won't. Now, will I then judge that the appreciation or lack of appreciation,
Correct.
for Breaking Bad is because they lack taste? Now, what is taste? Right? Whose taste are we defining here? So at some point, we have to just agree that how we aesthetic and the artistic value of what a movie is or the end product is, we have to leave that to the individuals. But I think when we have clear metrics like influence and commercial sources, I think things are better defined. So, for example, let's say we produce Breaking Bad and we want to show it here in Nigeria to discourage people from taking drugs. Will it be as successful as, say, Omogeto? Perhaps it won't, because of the cultural, differences like Trevor mentioned. But if it's for commercial sources, then we can argue Colin's point that for us to say as an industry, we want to have commercial sources, we have to earn some things in dollars. And for us to do that, we have to create output that will just not be seen by us here, which is one of the biggest issues we're facing locally. Actually, you make your stuff, do 500 million, which is like 750K, or less than that in dollars, and you're done. That's the end. But if you're looking at commercial sources, then we have to start thinking of integrating other consciousness, other perspective into what we produce, because we're not doing that just to make movies. We're doing that because we're eyeing commercial sources. Yeah.
That's deep stuff. Yes.
So that, I think that's pretty much knowing your audience, know who you want to tell the stories to, and playing to their psyche, playing to their mindset. Like there was a book I read some time ago, like Made to Stick by Cheap and Dan Heath. So what they did in this book, they were analyzing what made stories have like this stickiness factor and being able to be retold. And one of the things that they pointed out, which I found very interesting, is that like a Velcro, you have the hooks and you have the hair. So you are given the hooks, right? Or they have the hooks in their minds, and that you have the hair. That's the story you're telling. Because if it doesn't fit, it doesn't stick. So, and one of the things that I find very interesting here is that knowing your audience means understanding what they're going to gravitate towards. Because I think it's a gross failure to like tell a story without considering who the listener is, and the point I'm making here is that when you're telling stories, you have to know how they're going to react. You have to be able to you have to be able to predict it, preempt it. And the best storytellers actually can engineer the reaction. And it's like, I know this is how it's going to go, and this is how it's going to be. It's going to be chaos. And then you go in for the chaos. You want to polarize an audience, you polarize them. You want to like have a tongue-in-cheek story or approach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, most of what
like
yeah, I just want to that everybody's talking about the audience, that the audience determines the story. I mean, kind of everything's about the audience. the question I have really is that as storytellers, do we even have any agency? Do we have anything of our own that determines? Because I just watched your movie right now, Collins, and I must be sure. I'm sure that it's not all about the audience. I'm sure it's also part of your own worldview that is in that movie. And because sometimes we as storytellers, we behave as if we're tabula rasa, like we actually have nothing, and everything we're doing is about the audience, which is something we grew up with in advertising. Is all about the audience, but we always forget that even our voice is present in that story. And I don't know if I'm wrong about that. Do you think our voices as storytellers show up in our messaging, in our in how we crop up, or do you think it's all the audience voices that we're listening to? Tell
No,
me.
you're actually very correct, because the thing is that it's like putting the cart before the horse. So the thing is that the audience you shouldn't like say, I want to tell a story because of the audience or like an audience appeal, thereby abdicating your agency and your freedom of creativity. It's more like, okay, in the execution, that's when you include how the audience will react. It was more about the audience reaction than the audience, acceptance in itself. So I'm going to tell a story right now, and okay, how do I want to execute it? Okay, I want them to laugh. Yeah, I want to get them to think. I want to get them to be angry. I just want to be chaotic. I want to like I want to have like a story that's going to be retold. Okay, be told at a dinner party. So at this point, when it comes to the execution, there are some words that are triggers. For instance, so if you want your story to actually have an impact, do you want to use those trigger words? Oh, I'm afraid to use trigger words because I don't want to offend anyone. Now that is now abdicating to the audience. But when you say I'm going to use those trigger words just to shit on the thinking of the audience, that why do we have words we can't say or use anymore? Then you can use that as a ploy, as a play, because it's about a reaction rather than an appeal for me.
Does anybody have anything to say to that?
Yeah, like I think you can tell a lot about the person behind a brand by looking at the brand. I think if you study brands, you would see, oh, this brand manager is someone who's more performance oriented by like, this is their channel mix, right? Like you can see where they're investing money. If someone, like when I was at Bose, we did a lot of events, we did a ton of like concerts, because we were genuinely social butterflies within the team. And we enjoyed a lot of campaigns that had to do with like polarizing people, or thinking through gamification. Like it reflects the personality of the person behind it. I think there's definitely the part of like figuring out as you experiment, figuring out what your audience resonates with and what's working best. But I think fundamentally brands have a way of, or brand owners have a way of reflecting their personalities within the brand.
Somebody put a question up there. Sorry, do you want to say something, Provost?
No, I just wanted to build on that. And I think that's the challenge for those who are managing brands. How do you remove yourself and your own personal interests from when you're managing a brand? Yes, it will have some influence, and I'm not saying it won't have some influence. It influenced some of the things that I did in managing brands. But I think constantly we must strive to put ourselves in the shoes of the target audience or the target market. And it does take a lot of immersion. And I think if we're going to storytell successfully, we cannot just sit on our desks. We need to immerse with the consumer, relate with the audience so that we can actually have that human connection. And I think that's something that we need to do better.
Somebody is asking, Kunle is asking from YouTube. He says, since there is a film expert on this panel, why is it that a culture that is heavy on sound and music chips out of music and soundscape in their storytelling? Specifically, this person said Nollywood.
I don't know. I think that's a skill issue, for lack of a better word. I think it's a skill issue. I think it depends on who you meet for the scores of your films. I think there are actually good music scorers in Nollywood, and I've seen some films that were actually nicely scored, while I've also seen some films that were horribly scored. So I think it's just a matter of skill issue. I mean, if you meet someone who's so good enough to score your film, yeah, they definitely won't do a good job. That's just what I think.
Okay. Okay.
I think to build on that, I'll
Yeah.
give something to that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, over the weekend, I was watching Kemi Adetiba to Kill a Monkey. I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those. I call myself a late watcher. When something is a hype, I don't go near it until the hype has got down, and then I go watch it. And I think for me, one thing that really stood out was the sound design. So maybe it's the movies that this person has been watching, but I know that, I mean, even back in the day with old Nollywood, we all used to say that when you hear a particular, change in tune, that something good or something bad is about to happen. I mean, I think our stories are similar to Bollywood. I think I always say the Indian culture is the closest to the Nigerian culture in terms of storytelling. I mean, with with Indian movies especially, I won't say Asia and Indians especially, it's high on emotion. There's always a lot of love and this and that, somebody falling into the arms of someone, and all of that happens with music and sound and all of that. So I think that I mean, I'm one of those very harsh critics of Nollywood, but I think when it comes to sound design, I think Nollywood has, has sort of improved. I mean, like I said, I watched Kemi's movie series. It's an 8-part series, and I think one of the things that drew me in up until episode 3 and kept me there, because I think episode 1 and 2, okay, but we're not talking about the movie right now, but episode 1 and 2 was kind of slow for me, but it was the sound. Like every time something was going to happen, it was how they transitioned with music and all of that. And yeah, so this is me building on the film and TV experts in the room and hoping that I helped you to answer that question. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
did. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Should we switch gear a little bit and talk about you all as storytellers in your respective fields? What are the things to watch out for? We're all talking about AI. I think it's not only AI. A lot of things happening in the industries where we are. So whether in advertising, I'm hearing a lot of agencies are closing shops. Why there are new ones? Consultancy agencies are springing up. People are calling themselves consultants. Easily now, it's easy to find so many consultants online. Somebody just went to school yesterday is a consultant today. And there is a lot going on in various industries. What is going on in your industry, and how can people watching, how can they prepare themselves for what is about to happen? Because all of you are powerhouses, and I believe that you have something to say to that.
So I think from what I've noticed so far, is the first thing is attention, right? When people say that, nothing is new under the sun, all right, the attention deficit that we have is unprecedented. People can't wait at traffic light anymore without whipping out their phones. People find it difficult to raise their head up, look at what's on billboards. Now, if you look at the younger generation, it's even crazier. So if you notice kids now, when they're watching some YouTube videos, they are watching 2 videos in one. So there is a video that maybe somebody is mixing some paint, like that. And there's another video of a guy running within that video, and there's a voice. So they are actually watching like 2-3 things while listening to a third that was happening. I've seen my kids do this, and I'm wondering, why is that? That is because of the nature of attention. It's just not enough that you created the content for people to look at. People now have to raise the bar when it comes to creating excitement or getting attention, and it is getting worse actually. That means as creators, it's people can't watch football. I mean, personally, I can't watch football anymore without bringing up my phone. That wasn't the case. I would watch a Barcelona match from beginning to the end without picking up my phone before. But now I'm watching Barcelona. I'm also on Twitter, right? This is how I'm engaging now. I'm not your typical Gen Z. I mean, I was born with typewriter, right? For me to evolve into this sort of attention excitement junkie in my own way. Imagine what's happening to the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha. It's going to be a bit crazy when we get there. So as creators, we have to up our game significantly. And I've seen some of that, us not coming to terms with that reality. And that's where you will see some of this evolution, complete evolution of what we used to call print ad or outdoor ad, making its way into social media content. I'm like, nah, this is no longer, it's no longer the same thing. Your content, or what you call content, is no longer competing with what other brands are creating. It's competing with other exciting content on Instagram and simultaneously with what's happening on TikTok. Because people are not just on Instagram and that's the only app on their phone. Once they get to a saturation level when it comes to excitement on Instagram, they swipe away and go to TikTok immediately. So our ability to create stuff to actually get people's attention, it's crazy. We have to sort of increase that. Yeah.
So I want to add something to what Tohib just said. So now let's just see it this way. We're in an attention economy right now. And at this point, I would say we're running at a deficit when it comes to the creative part of and people who want to tell stories effectively and efficiently. So like about 20 years ago, roughly, the average attention span was about 14 seconds. So now, what do you think we are right now? Where do you think we are in terms of what the attention span is? You'll be very, very surprised to know that it's about 3 seconds. And that is depleting. In about a year or two, we're going to 1.5 seconds. So how can we tell effective stories in this way? So the thing is that we're at a deficit of attention because attention is the economy. That's the resource. And our payoff right now is excitement. If we're able to get shareable content or shareability or word of mouth from what we have told, then you're doing a good job. So I think this is the constraint and the restraints we have to work with. And we also have to have this in mind whenever we're creating. Not creating to appeal to that purpose, but these are it's like, first, when you say we're thinking out of the box, right? We should be able to remap the boundaries that we have. And I think that's what we're going to get the retailers.
Yeah, so just to bring it back to the question that Kenny asked, I think that advertising agencies are becoming an endangered species. I think that what's happening in many cases is that more companies are trying to build advertising agencies within their businesses. So you find that a lot of crazy talents are being hired to work internally. And I guess the main thing that I have heard and that I have seen in my years within the industry is, I guess there's three main things people will tell you make a strong brand, right? Like, it needs to be meaningful, it needs to be salient, and it needs to be different. I think generally ad agencies do a good job of taking salience and different. But I think in terms of what meaning is to a company or to a business, I think that's typically the gap, because there's a gap of understanding of the business in many cases. And it's understandable, right? Like, as an agency, you're dealing with 100 different brands. So really getting to understand the business model and the insights, it does take some time, and it takes a lot of diligence and discipline that I think a lot of creative agencies lack. So, I think that's really my perception of what's happening at the moment. And it's an interesting dichotomy. I'm curious about how long, long live the agency, amen. But how long is it going to last? I don't know.
Maybe Lamper can tell us what's going on. What's going on in the industry?
No, so I do agree with Trevor's viewpoint, and I agree that really, therefore, what is going important is an understanding of the audience, the target audience, and that's why, again, in a way, reiterating what I said earlier on, immersion, consumer immersion. So let me tell you a little story about some years ago. There was a certain brand that is very big in Nigeria and wanted to launch into East Africa, and the company was already a strong company there, but so it's a malt brand, right? It was a malt brand, and it tried to travel into East Africa, but it had struggled, right? And they had relaunched, it wasn't successful. But herein was the insight, which I got when I lived in Kenya for a few years. And it happened on one of my first week in Kenya. I asked for a malt drink in the restaurant I've been invited to, and I asked for a malt drink. And then they brought an alcoholic drink to me. And I said, no, sorry, I asked for a malt drink. Now, coming from Nigeria, a malt drink is non-alcoholic, right? But in Kenya, the biggest brand there is lager beer, but they call it Tosca malt, right? So therein was the challenge of this Nigerian brand that wanted to travel, well, not as a Nigerian brand, big in Nigeria, international brand. But as far as the Kenyan market, East African market is concerned, a malt brand has to be alcoholic. They couldn't relate with a non-alcoholic brand. That's a deep cultural insight. It requires understanding that cultural nuance to succeed. Until today, that brand has not been successfully launched in East Africa because the Kenyan consumer, East African consumer, cannot relate with a non-alcoholic malt brand. And therefore, yeah. So for agencies, for any marketer or brand manager, I think this is the time to get really immersed into understanding consumer, the culture, what will resonate with them. And so for any ad agency to succeed, I think the edge is their creativity is important, but I think those who will go over the edge would be those who show that what they create truly resonates with the target market. So there must be some real investment, I think, beyond just the creation, but really understanding the consumer and the cultural nuances. I think that's going to be perhaps a source of differentiation for.
Yeah. No, this is interesting because the Orange Academy. Sorry, Asosa, I know you want to say something. At Orange Academy, this is very important to us. We always emphasize culture as a key parameter for branding. You cannot define branding in Orange without mentioning culture, because we think that it's important. And culture is not a static thing; it's growing. It's something that you have to keep catching up with. Asosa, please. We have a very few minutes to go. Yeah.
Very few minutes. Yes, just to build on what Trevor said, and I think Eniola said it when he talked about attention span reducing. Very quickly, I mean, a few days ago, I was speaking to over a few days ago, I was speaking to one of the marketing directors I work with, and she was like, "Look, that she's done with advertising, and she's all about brand building now." And what I would say is, for and which is to Trevor's point about advertising agencies being an endangered species, I think we need to very quickly begin to morph from just advertisers to brand builders. Right now, will the 60-second ad cut it? I don't think so. People watch your ad and very quickly forget it. But what are you doing to keep that attention? And that's where we need to be. So if you're still stuck in, it must be a TV ad, a radio ad, or a print ad, then you're in deep trouble. How are you building the brand with? I mean, if you're lucky to have clients who are all about brand building and not just about quick wins, then I think this is the way to go. So I'm speaking for my industry and saying, you know what, and that's what I challenge my people with every day. Look, you need to evolve from just advertisers to brand builders. How do you sustain this brand long term? Back in the day, I think one brand that comes to bear is Gouda. Gouda did it best with Gouda Ultimate Search. They created an asset that lasted years and sustained an audience. I mean, they tried to bring it back, but it didn't quite work. But these are the kinds of asset building things that we're talking about in terms of brand building. That was not an ad. That was something that entertained an audience for many years, and we need to really go back to that as agency people.
How is that going on in tech area, for instance, Trevor? How is that going on in the SaaS, the tech? Because you people have a lot of lingos, like a lot of language of this and that. Like Money Points is a good example that is people are raving about, that this is from Nigeria, a brand. What's your take to all of this? And I'm coming to you, Tohib. We have just about 10 more minutes to go for this event. I wanted to hear about your perspective about creating an agency in times like this. You started an agency in Lagos and you are doing very well. I mean, looking at what you guys are doing, you're also very into filmmaking. as recently as possible, as I know. I'm coming to you, so stand by. I just want to ask Trevor, how is the tech industry reacting to all of these changes in storytelling? And what should we look out for as storytellers watching?
Yeah, I think in tech it's interesting because tech is one of those industries where numbers matter a lot. And so there's a lot of tension between we want to build the brand and we want to get quick results, right? So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of, yeah, we know that if we do this ad, it will convert and maybe we'll get X number of new acquisitions. But in terms of building a long-lasting brand, we also know that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And there's a lot of channels that contribute to building that. And, it takes time, it takes critical thinking, it takes lateral thinking, it takes not one campaign, it takes a bunch of different campaigns. It takes like a clear thread, a clear story about like what this brand does, what it represents. And I think a lot of brands will miss this with some campaigns and will get it with others. But I think overall, I think tech is still quite nascent in terms of the collaboration between storytelling and tech. I don't think like that's an industry that's quite there yet. And I think I'm excited to see how it goes in the next few years. Honestly, I think we're going to be part of a big shift.
That's interesting. Yeah. So Tohid, give us the lowdown. I mean, you are creating a one-of-a-kind kind of new era agency that is mixing different formats of media. You did an exhibition not too long ago, and you're trying to redefine what advertising should look like. Like, what's going on? What's the story? What's your story?
Yeah, I mean, me and all the founders, my other co-founders, we were trained in the traditional sense, TV, radio, billboard with big budgets, saying yes to your needs. That was the era, that we got. But we started the agency during the tech, the word that Seva just, described, a period that needs results, and that is what we had to quickly evolve into. So we had to become an impact-driven agency. So at the Hook, we actually call ourselves the creators of impact. So we had to be super focused on how do we actually deliver results. And it is not enough that what you created is creative. We'll probably win an award. It's probably we do all of that, but will it deliver for the client? So that's something that we needed to add to what we're doing. Then the next thing that we then discovered is that what we call storytelling, the platforms are getting multimodal. People are getting listening to stories, engaging with stories on different platforms. So how do we change this? That's why we're also branching out into all of these platforms, from filmmaking to aquarium. We have a whole lot of other, things that are in process. So for us, the world needs results now, and they have to get the result now because of the pace of innovation. Right before you could just be your Nike, do the brand building over time, then you're still going to exist in the next 20, 30 years. Now you're a startup, you're a tech platform, you can be dead in 2 or 3 years while you're still building your brand. So there's a need to get results immediately. We understand that, and we try to deliver on that. Yeah.
And how is that going on in music industry, if any life still there? How is this? How are you guys? Because so much is happening in music. We don't know what's the winning formula for storytelling. I love your music, by the way. I love. I was just about to play that ending part.
Like with music, it's a crazy business because first,
will you wine your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it, will you wine your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your...
Yeah, you were talking. Sorry, I cut you off. Yes, Eniola, so what are you saying?
So what I was saying, that since time immemorial, it's been very, very, very challenging that music becomes like a full-time job. Like people go to school to study music actually, and they get a degree, they can actually create music, but it's not like there's a pathway to the market. So the thing is that the institution, educational institution, and and the industry, they're two different things. They don't have a way that they come in together. And like with a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine who lives in Canada, Conley is his name, like we're able to like sit together, talk about these things, and we're able to like map a pathway from the scholarly part, from the scholastic part into industry, which is getting into culture, arts, and having all those kind of things set up. Because if you want to be a singer, you want to be a pop star, there's no point going to school. Just go online, throw some things out there. It's like a hit or miss kind of stuff. I was talking to like the yesterday. I was having like drinks with the former managing director of Sony Music in Germany, and he told me like nowadays the A&R guys, all they just do is that they don't listen to songs anymore. You send them a demo, nobody listens. All they just do is that they go to your Instagram. If you don't have 50,000 followers, they are not going to listen to anything or take anything. So we feel like a lot of people who can tell good stories, people who can actually shape and shift the industry, get lost in that whole process, in that whole funnel system. So how do we approach this? I have this aversion towards social media. Like starting with social media, it's like that is the last part. That is somewhere in between. That's not where I want to start. Social media, like instead of taking photos and making short clips, I can spend that time in the studio actually recording. I can spend that time working on myself and writing songs. I can travel, get my heart broken, fall in love, do whatever, be a piece of shit, be a douchebag, and write about it. That's what I should be doing as an artist. I shouldn't be, curating posts. I mean, people can disagree with me on that, and I'm ready to listen to any debate on that one. It's fine, I'm ready to listen to the debate. And this is something I've tried and applied. So what I think, or what I believe, and what I do is that I believe in building grassroots audiences. So start where you are, build a very, very strong cult followership, and then look for a market where you can easily, you can easily take that success and replicate it. Because right now in the Nigerian music industry, we have a lot of gatekeepers. And the funny thing is that if you want to make a song successful, with limited, like this is not the full package. You have to spend $20,000 just to get one track out, and there is no guarantee it's going to be successful. So what is business when you don't have any guarantee that your investment is going to generate any form of returns? That's not a good business. That's bad strategy, and nobody should be doing that. And the thing is that this business is only fueled because artists give them the mandate by handing and abdicating the role as creative people to this gatekeepers. And I'm very, very unapologetically aggressive against it. I would never go with it. I would never fall for it. I would never be a part of it. I would never dignify it. There's no room for it at all. So
you are a rebel, my friend. You are. But I hear you. This can go on, and we need to stop somewhere along the line. This has been a great jam. It was an experimental event tonight, just to see how we can talk amongst ourselves without having an agenda. I think it worked. Listening to all of you, having you ask questions, I have learned a lot. I will try to summarize later using AI. I will take all the notes and I will look at the summary. But is there something you want to say one by one that you want to leave to storytellers who are listening? Most people are asking, how can I build up myself as a storyteller? Somebody has a question, though, that we never answered. He said, how do you tell a very interesting story in a technical field like engineering, medicine, and all? We never went back to that because there's a lot going on. Does somebody want to quickly answer that before we end?
If I may, since I come from a bit of a science background, I think at the end of the day, it's who's your audience. Is the audience an engineer? Is the audience a doctor? And I think regardless of the profession, these are human beings. So relate with them as human beings and break it down in such ways that they can relate with it. So that is if the audience is a medical doctor. But if you're talking about it from a perspective that you want to communicate something medical to a non-medical person, then do not use high-polluting words, technical words. Break it down in such ways that it resonates with the audience. So I think simply understand who the target audience is and use words that they can relate with.
That's great. Thank you so much.
I'd like to chip in if you don't mind. Like I'll make it like I tried my best to make friends with people who are smarter than me. So like 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with some of them, and we talked about Carl Sage, who is like an astrophysicist, and he was going to talk about the vastness of the world and the Earth and how minuscule it is compared to the vastness of the universe. And I would like you guys to check this up because I think it gives you like a framework on how to do this to answer this question. And he wrote a poem. He's an astrophysicist. It would have written like a white paper of 800,000 pages and still made the point. But he wrote this poem called The Pale Blue Dot. Please go check it out, Carl Sage, The Pale Blue Dot. And then maybe that would help you understand how to tell a story, even in more technical field.
Okay, I'm making notes. Yeah, I see your point, and Lango really was really right on the money. It's all about the audience. I'm opportune to work across science and also advertising and also different audiences. And he's really right. Many a times you need to do some boring stuff as a storyteller. I'm sure Teba will agree, even in tech. There's some things that you have to really talk about, and it's not as exciting as Bombita and as Indomie, but you have to really talk about it anyway. So tonight, wherever you are calling from or wherever you're screening from, thank you for joining us. And before we go again, we'd like to just go over one by one. I'm going to start with Tohib, and then Lampe is next, just according to my screen here. I don't know what your screen looks like where you are. So there's Tohib, there's Lampe, there's Amy, there's Esosa, my woman of creativity, and there is Teva, the SARS woman, and then there is Collins. So we're going to go around, speaking to one storyteller out there watching this right now, what do you want them to do to build their storytelling
Yes.
persona?
Right. I mean, your story is valid. Your ability to tell story is valid. You might look out there now, it doesn't seem like people are telling the story the way you think you can tell it or the way you think it should be told. Go out there and tell your story. Yep.
Go out there and tell a story. Great. Provost.
All right, so I think that you become a better storyteller, and that speaks to myself as well, if you expose yourself to a variety of stimuli, and therefore this means you're reading, have conversations with you from diverse sectors. I think once you enrich your knowledge, it then makes you even a better storyteller. So get better in terms of reading and exposing yourself to different kind of stimuli.
Correct. Falashe.
Yeah, so what I'll just say is that there are two things you should watch out for. First, the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome is very, very paralyzing. It's only as real as you make it to be. And imposter syndrome, from what I've discovered or what I've been able to realize, is that because creativity is not it's not objective, it's subjective, it's not quantifiable. Hence, because you can't, it's like a heavy load on you. So you have to find a way to make it quantifiable. And another thing is this, your story, as Tohib said, is valid. You have to find a way to tell it. And if you don't know how to tell it, keep telling it until you die.
Even if nobody pays attention, you keep telling it. Okay. All right. It's over.
Okay. For me, I would say just be a sponge. One thing I always say even when I teach at Orange is I always leave my listeners with that one thing: be a sponge. Open your mind to everything. I always put in quotes almost, but everything. Watch everything, listen to everything, expose yourself to everything, and then pick your niche. Like you can't be a master of all. Like, yes, you can enjoy different forms of writing, but then pick the one that brings you joy and then just stick to your lane, but be a sponge. Right now, no matter how long, I mean, I tell myself every day, it's not about years, it's about, because there's always something new every day. So just keep soaking in and keep soaking in and keep soaking in. Yeah, and that's the way to go.
I love it. Be a sponge. Yeah. Teva.
Cool. One of my favorite quotes is that you can't choose between inhaling and exhaling. You kind of have to do both. I think with storytelling, it's a similar paradox, right? Like it's 2025, people don't care. Your job as a storyteller is to make them care. And you have to find the best way to do that, whether that is exaggeration or wordplay or social experiment or, trolling your competition or anti-marketing. Like, it's your job to make them care.
I love that. Yeah. Collins, the film man.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I just want to say is keep writing and be careful of how you receive feedback. Yeah, when you put your stories out there, you're going to get positive feedback and negative feedback. So while you have to learn from the feedback, but you have to make sure not to internalize what they say you are. You have to make sure your self-esteem is not affected by the kind of feedback you get. So while you should just be open to change without feeling bad, without feeling you are a horrible writer, just create a balance as you receive your feedback. Yeah.
Now we need to pass the basket for offering. That's amazing. Yeah. Feedback has been one major. We can have a whole day on that. So I will not take more of the time anymore. Thank you for everyone joining us from around the world. Please visit our website, orangeacademy.net. That is the new home of Orange Academy. And we are going to be having more of this What's Your Story event. We're going to be bringing people from different industries who are storytellers. That's the idea, to just jam like we just did. So if you know somebody we should invite for the next one, please let us know in the comment section. And it's been a great evening for all of us. Thank you for joining us. The provost, thank you so much for always bringing wisdom. Tohib, you are really a rebel. I love you. Eniola, thank you for joining us from Hamburg. Esosa, you always be Esosa. Thank you. Taber, I'm grateful that I just invited you short notice and you said, let's do it. Collins, great, it's good to see you. And on the music of this beautiful music, we just end on that note. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Will you wind your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it. Will you wind your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it. She won't follow me go out today, oh. She won't follow me go out today, oh. Malo su malo yegbe, to balo su ma yegbe. Malo su malo yegbe, to balo su ma yegbe. Malo su malo yegbe, to balo su ma yegbe. She won't follow me go out today, oh. Will you wind your body? Show me how you do it, like your style and your dressing. Show me how you do it, wine